So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to avoid risky substances. So risky substances, what exactly are those? Well, these include alcohol, drugs, and other substances that don't really benefit our bodies in a positive way. In fact, they tend to have negative side effects to them, and after long-term use can cause serious health conditions. Different kinds of drugs affect your bodies in different ways, and the effects associated with drugs can vary from person to person. How a drug affects an individual will depend on their body size, their overall health, and the strength and the amount of drug taken. Drugs can have short-term and long-term effects. These effects can be physical and psychological and can often include dependency, all of which can cause serious consequences to the body. So you may be asking yourself why I included all that information that you may or may not have already known. Well, that's because you as a parent should be educated on these topics so you can talk to your children in an effective yet knowledgeable way. Talking to your kids about drugs and alcohol can be a super fragile topic and will also most likely come with a ton of questions. So it's super important to educate yourself on the topic first and to truly understand the negative effects these substances can have on your health before you expose your children to that topic. And again, every family will have their own way of tackling this topic. I'm just including what I've learned throughout my education and what I found along the way that I thought would be beneficial when it comes to talking about this topic. So as a parent, you are the one creating a safe and nurturing environment for your children. During adolescence and other important stages of development, kids are looking up to you as their parents and are relying on those strong and open relationships, just like they are when it comes to eating smarter and being more physically active. So when parents build a strong, open, and supportive environment, children are more likely to reciprocate those feelings. So when parents talk openly about the dangers of certain activities, such as alcohol and drug consumption, kids in turn are then more likely to actually hear their parents' concerns and to avoid those risky activities. It's also important to talk about alcohol and drug use and abuse with your kids while they're at a young age and keep talking about it as they grow up so that they understand and keep understanding the negative effects that it can have on their bodies. So by talking about this topic at a young age, you're giving your children the knowledge and the education at a young age that can help them to avoid those high-risk behaviors as they grow up. So if they are exposed to this knowledge at a young age, then once they are exposed to the drug and the possible peer pressures they have in the future, they'll have the skills and knowledge on how to handle those situations properly. So you may be asking yourself, how in the world do I ask my kids and talk to my kids about this topic without sending mixed messages? Well, I've kind of broken it down from what I found throughout my research on this topic. So for your preschool children, so ages around 3 to 4, they're at the beginning stages of decision making. So essentially what you want to start doing is to allow for them to make their own decisions when it comes to small things. Like, would you rather have an apple or an orange for a snack? Or what outfit would you like to wear today? Small decisions like that where you're providing healthy options, but giving them the autonomy to make the choice themselves. So as they grow up, they'll feel strong enough and confident enough to make their own decisions, but in a healthy way because that's what you've taught them when they were younger. For elementary years, around ages 4 to 8, this is when you should start talking about how our bodies work and how there are good things and also bad things that can be put into our bodies and how those bad things tend to have long-lasting negative effects on our overall health. Late elementary years is one of the most critical stages of development. This is when kids are starting to go through puberty. They may even be uncomfortable with their bodies and are possibly being exposed to bullying or peer pressure. So between these ages, it's a good time to talk openly about the short-term and long-term effects of these substances. Here, it's important to set a good example for your kids and be their support system through a very critical and probably difficult time in their lives. This is also the time where I know I learned the Just Say No method in DARE class and health class. So that's also a good thing you can probably teach your kids when it comes to talking about risky substances. And finally, in the teenage years, at this time, kids should have the knowledge on the negative effects of risky substances and have a clear understanding of your standpoint and expectations of their behaviors. It's important to make them feel respected and autonomous, but also supported and safe so they feel safe and strong enough to make their own decisions. but also have that safety net of family supporting them from behind. And lastly, don't forget to emphasize your love and concern for them always, and this goes for all the age groups I've said before. On the other hand of the topic, if parents don't have the conversation about the dangers and negative effects drugs can have on the body, then kids may not see any harm in the consumption of these substances. They may have no idea how it can impact their development and bodily functions, which can create major problems in the future. By not having this conversation, parents would not be giving their children the knowledge and strength to say no to risky substances, therefore raising the risk of underage substance use, which I don't think anybody wants for their children. There are tons of things you as a parent can do to create a healthy and safe environment for your children. One where risky substances is a conversation you can have openly so that everyone understands the concerns and consequences that they can have. So as a parent, you can lead by example, just like I've mentioned in every single other module. Your kids are watching you always, not to sound creepy, but if they see you make a choice, then they will grow up to most likely make those same choices. So bottom line, just be a good role model and lead a healthy kind of lifestyle. Also, educate yourself first. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it would be more productive if you yourself are educated on the topic before trying to help your children to understand the topic as well. As a parent, it's also important to encourage an open and supportive means of communication. Children should feel safe and comfortable to come to you to ask questions about this topic. It's important that they learn from you and are supported enough to be able to talk openly about it so that they can be provided with the most amount of information as possible that they can use to better themselves in the future. And finally, help your children find and learn healthy stress management skills. Research has found that those who are more stressed out tend to fall back on alcohol and drugs as a means of coping for that stress. If you help your children understand the importance of stress management, then they will have healthy ways of coping for stress when it comes to their futures as well. So I know this can kind of be a touchy subject and probably a weird conversation to have with your kids, but all I really wanted to do in this module was to help you as a parent to understand the importance of having this conversation and how creating a strong relationship with your children is really important, especially when it comes to avoiding risky substances.